Back to you now, about 15 minutes to the top of the hour, and Harvey Weinstein found guilty in a split verdict, despite jury deliberations not even being over. The movie mogul's sex crimes retrial in New York, anything but ordinary. So this morning, jurors will return to decide whether or not Weinstein is guilty or innocent of a final charge. So far, he's been convicted of sexual assault against his former assistant, but acquitted of another sex crime stemming back to 2006. The mixed verdict Wednesday coming after chaos among the jury sent them home early, actually, to allow them time away from one another. For more, I'm now joined by trial attorney and legal analyst Misty Marris. Misty, explain this to me, because I think I'm missing something here. How has he been found guilty if there's a split verdict and the jury's not done deliberating? How's that not a hung jury mistrial?
Yes, Marky. So it's interesting because there's absolutely been a lot of acrimony in the jury room that we're learning from applications that are being made by the defense and the jurors actually wanting to speak to the judge about what's going on behind those closed doors. But to answer your question about how this can happen, remember, Harvey Weinstein was charged with 2 counts of a criminal sexual act, one relating to Miriam Haley, that's what he's been convicted of, and one relating to Kaya Sokolov. So that's the one he's been acquitted of. So it's not a hung jury because each of these charges stand alone. They relate to allegations made by 3 different women. The third charge, Jessica Mann, third-degree rape. That's the one that remains outstanding. So the jury is looking at each charge separately. It's different than other cases where you're talking about a lesser included offense, which might result in a hung jury. So all of them are looked at independently by a jury and analyzed from the premise of, did prosecutors prove the case beyond a reasonable doubt?
Got it. And you just brought up the fact that jurors are coming straight to that judge who's confirmed there's been yelling and screaming and, threats being made. You had one juror, juror number 7, who came forward to that judge and said, hey, I don't even want to go back in. There's playground stuff happening. They're considering things from his past that aren't even part of this trial. And Arthur Aidala, who is Weinstein's, main attorney, is pushing for a mistrial over that, saying, hey, we got tainted jurors in there. Do you agree with him? Is that grounds for a mistrial?
It absolutely is an application the defense should make, and I agree that the defense made it on a couple of different grounds. So first is this idea that prior bad acts, things that are not in evidence, are coming into the jury room. That is improper. And so the defense asked for a mistrial based on the representations from one of the jurors who said that people in the jury room are talking about things that were not in evidence. The judge did not grant the mistrial and instead gave what's called a curative instruction, told the jury, you have to make your decision based on the evidence in this trial and nothing else. But then there was another issue, Marky, and it's was raised, and the transcript actually came out last night about the foreman who went into the judge's chambers and said that he was actually afraid because he was being told by other jurors to change his opinion, and he felt he was actually being physically threatened.
Is that normal?
Another juror saying, I'm going to meet you outside.
Is that abnormal behavior?
Physical coercion is the problem.
Do you see that happen a lot, this kind of behavior behind the scenes from a jury?
Jurors absolutely have arguments and clash, but when you're talking about that next step of actual physical threats, that's where it could become coercion in the jury room. And quite frankly, the judge did not grant a mistrial, but that is another issue that could give Harvey Weinstein another win on appeal if that issue were to be vetted in the appellate stage of the case. So it is a unique issue that you're talking about these types of physical threats behind the scenes, and no question that the defense asked for a mistrial because even though it was unlikely to be granted at this stage, it's certainly a novel appellate issue.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy, all that we're hearing that's going on with these jurors. We're going to continue to follow this closely, and Misty, I'll have you back on soon. Thanks for your time.